Hello, everyone, and welcome to Co-Creation Station, the podcast where we talk about the law of attraction, the art of allowing, spiritual magic, the mind-body-spirit connection, and how to best enjoy this mystical, miraculous, mysterious, crazy, sometimes confounding, but always incredible journey we call life. My name's Collin. I'm a teacher, tarot oracle card reader, and I'm also the singer and guitarist in the band Red Treasure, and I'm located in beautiful, sunny North Hollywood, California.
My name is Stephanie Orlina. I am a transformational life coach and I help people shift away from negative thinking and it transforms their lives. And I am in bright and sunny San Diego, California.
We want to thank you so much for listening to the podcast. If you're listening to the audio version on Overcast or Castbox or Google Podcasts or Apple Podcasts or Spotify, wherever you listen. And we want to thank you for watching us. If you're watching us on the Co-Creation Station YouTube channel, we're currently posting a brand new episode for you every Monday morning. We also want to thank you so much for liking this episode, following us, subscribing to us, reviewing us, whatever the platform you're consuming us on allows you to do. This all helps other people find the show, and we're really grateful to you for that. If you're watching us on YouTube, you can post a comment. We'd love to hear from you there. No matter how you're listening or watching, you can email us at cocreationstation1111@gmail.com. Each week we start our discussion from a different jumping off point, and this week we decided that we're going to do something we've done once before, which is to start off with an oracle card reading. And I'm going to use this particular deck of oracle cards is called, for the YouTube folks, I'll put it up here, the box up here. It's the Wisdom of the Hidden Realms, which is one of Colette Baron-Reid's decks. She has many. And,
powerful cover.
Yeah, and this is probably the one that I use the most often. It's been my favorite, like, over the years. Usually my favorite is whatever the new pretty one is I just bought, but this is one of the handful that I keep coming back to, and when I want, I don't know, something is super meaningful to me, I tend to go to this one more than others, I would say. But
nice.
So we'll pull a card here and just see what it says. Talk about it. So this card is called the Swan Queen, and it deals with transformation, intuition, and patience. It's card number 13 in this deck. For the YouTube folks, I'll show you what the card looks like. Got a little bit of glare going on, but for the people listening on the audio version, it's a beautiful painting of a beautiful woman with long white hair and a feathery dress in a field of snowy trees with swans all around her. So,
could you put it up again so I can see
yeah,
it? Because I was writing as you were.
I'm trying to do it without the glare here. Oh,
yeah. Wow. Okay. Swan Queen. Gorgeous.
And let me go ahead and, so each of Colette Baron-Reid's oracle card decks has a little booklet that comes with it, and I'll read what it says in this little booklet about this card that she created.
I love her work. How many decks of cards does she have?
I have lost count, but it's over 10 now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because I think some of my I think I have one or two favorites that you have, and I think at least one of them is from her.
Yeah. The Enchanted Map deck is the one that we did in season 1, I think episode 3 or 4.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites.
That's the first one I ever bought. I tell the story of how I came to it in that episode that we did. Yeah, but she pretty much has like a new one every year at this point, which is pretty amazing. Wow. So the Swan Queen. The Swan Queen glides your way and asks that you look at your reflection in the events of your life. She gives you the ability to see the beauty that has transformed your life from ignorance to wisdom. The Swan Queen lets you know that it's time to go within and seek the answers in your own intuition. Don't look outside yourself for answers right now. The true power lies reflected in the still waters deep within you. Now is the moment to meditate and ask for a vision. The power of psychic perception is inherent in you, and the Swan Queen will help you dive deep into your query to find the answers that you seek. This is also a reminder to allow time to transform ideas into reality, because nothing happens overnight.
Can you read that last little part again?
Yeah, this is also a reminder to allow time to transform ideas into reality because nothing happens overnight.
Wow. That was really good. I could relate to a lot of it as you were reading it. And I like the transformation, meditation, patience. Those are three powerful words.
And I really love, we talk here about Abraham Hicks a lot, who is, if you're not familiar, you can Google Abraham Hicks and you'll get a ton of stuff, including recordings of her workshops on YouTube that you can listen to for free. But I always love how Abraham talks about patience, because I feel like our society sometimes, or our culture sometimes, talks about patience in this very specific way of like, well, that's something really big, so you better wait a long time for it because it's going to take a really long time for it to show up, and you should be patient. Like, it's like this sort of negative spin on that word of like, oh, okay. And it's almost like underneath it becomes like a different way of just saying, I'm never going to get it.
Yeah.
Like it's going to take so long to arrive.
Right. Yeah.
And Abraham talks about patience very differently, of like, patience is not that. It's not just like waiting forever. And, like if I'm recapturing her words accurately, it's that the universe or source or higher power is really the one that is determining the speed, the final verdict on the speed at which things manifest. So don't get into that, but also stay excited, stay positive, and almost like maintain this attitude, like if you can, without attaching to a time for something to show up. Be excited like it's going to show up today or tomorrow.
It's really trusting, right? Like, like building that trust, that belief that it's coming.
Yeah.
And it's not my job to figure out when or how or who or what. But that trusting and believing and knowing that the essence of what I'm wanting is coming.
Yeah. And we've talked about the Amazon metaphor too. It's like when you order something on Amazon, I mean, now we all have, well, not everybody, but almost everyone has Prime. So it's like, it's going to show up like very soon. But before Prime, some of your books would take 7 days, and some of your books would take 3 days, and some of your books would take 5 days. And you wouldn't, like, if a book hadn't arrived on day 4, you wouldn't be like, well, geez,
It's not, I can't have it, it's not showing up.
I guess I just
have to
keep being patient, because this book is taking forever to arrive. It's like, it's coming in a few days. So I think that's sort of like,
which is that trust, right? The trust and belief.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's deeper than trust, because I feel like when I hear the word trust, it's like, it's an action I have to take, to kind of like, like I'm going to trust someone. Like if I'm going to give somebody money, I'm going to trust that they take it to the bank or something, like it's me doing something. And I feel like I don't do anything when I click order on Amazon. I don't.
You are though.
But I mean, but in terms of what we're talking about, the trust and belief, I feel like I just believe that it will show up. I don't have to do anything actively to, maintain my belief or build my trust or whatever. It's a knowing, I guess. It feels like a knowing. Yeah. And I think I've heard other people talk about that. It's like, if you can, trusting is like one level, which is nothing against trust. Trust is good. But like when you just know it's going to show up, that's a much easier state to be in.
And I think they're like, trust for me with some things is like building a muscle. Like, oh, I'm just like learning to trust that it's going to happen or that it exists or whatever it is. Which all of this is building muscles, right?
Right.
Practice. Yeah.
And we were texting last night about the art of allowing, because we're nerds and we do that. And because I had watched.
Never considered myself a nerd. I think you just kind of like pulled me into that circle.
You think there's lots of people texting each other at like 11 p.m. on a Saturday night about the law of attraction and how it really works?
Well, you actually started it, and then I was like, I'm really tired. I don't know if I want to get into this.
I just responded to the nerdy text. I wasn't like being a nerd in my response. Well, no, but I texted you because I had watched every now and then. I just watch kind of like some random videos on YouTube that aren't necessarily referencing The Secret or Abraham Hicks or any particular author. They're just like, it's just some random voice talking about how, they think the law of attraction works or whatever. And I'm just curious, so I just watched. And this one talked about like the 3-step process, and that's why I started thinking about it, and I texted you about this because, and I think it connects to what the card is talking about when it said that part towards the end that you asked me to repeat about time, where it says this is a reminder to allow time to transform ideas into reality because nothing happens overnight. Like, allow time for ideas to be transformed into reality. And I feel like that's why I kind of got curious about this 3-step process thing. Because for those of you who don't know, in The Secret, they say that using the law of attraction to your advantage is a 3-step process. You ask, then you believe, then you receive. So that's 3.
And I always liked that. I remember using that a lot at the beginning. It just felt like ask, believe, receive. It just,
I think, and both of these things, and so just to get it out in the open, so Abraham Hicks has expressed that she doesn't agree with that per se. Like she feels like it's a little bit of a misinterpretation. And
well, actually, Abraham, right?
Abraham, yeah. Abraham. Abraham said, I should say they, I guess. Abraham says that the 3-step process is ask. Step 2 is it is given. And those 2 things happen automatically right away.
Yes.
And step 3 is allowing.
Right. Which we talk a lot about.
Which
here,
this is what our whole podcast is based on.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about it, and I'm like, because I was trying to figure out, because they're both saying kind of the same thing, but I'm like, why does Abraham have such an issue with the ask, believe, receive? Because I agree, it rhymes, at the end.
Yeah, that's what I liked about it.
Easy to remember.
Great words.
The argument, or I don't know if it's an argument, but the point that Abraham makes about it is that and this is why I was texting you, and I was like, I do think this is an important point. I do feel like people get tripped up on it, is that the ask, believe, receive doesn't clue you into the fact that the whole, like, the universe receiving your desire and acknowledging it, creating what you desire and putting it in your vortex vibrationally already happens before you get to the way The Secret does it. That's all before. That's all before ask, because when The Secret talks about ask, they're actually talking about like writing it down, visualizing, whatever.
Yeah.
And like for us, that's like in the Abraham camp, I guess. I'm in the Abraham camp on this one, I guess, is that, well, that's actually you trying to consciously align your vibration with what you're desiring, which that's actually allow, which is really step 3, not step 1 in the 3-step model. So what I sent you, so I'm just going to own that I'm a nerd, and I use PowerPoint.
Okay, so I want to pause here for a second, because it kind of goes back to, thank God for Rhonda Byrne and everybody who participated in
produced and created The Secret, the film, and the book.
Yes, thank you. Thank God that they created it, because it was really the catalyst for some of us to begin to be aware. And then Abraham, so let's just say that camp is like high school or maybe college. And then the Abraham teachings take it to like, going for your doctorate or master's degree. So that's where I think those 2 differentiate. So, okay. So I'm sorry I interrupted, but I just wanted to say that.
Yeah, I think the only thing that Abraham says, and again, I hope I'm retelling what they are sharing accurately, is that they feel like if you learn the ask, believe, receive from The Secret, you actually are learning it kind of wrong, in the sense that there's so much. What I think the point is, there's so much their issue with the Secret's 3 steps is that it makes it seem like you have a lot of work to do as the manifester. Like you have to ask in this, and I'm in the Secrets model now. You have to ask in step 1. So you have to like write down, or you have to visualize it. If you spend time every day, like feeling like you already have it. Not that any of these things are wrong, but it's just sort of like,
well, and they work.
Yeah. But like, so you have to do that. Then you have to believe. So you have to get your thoughts like aligned, like I deserve this and whatever. And then you have to receive, meaning, you have to be ready for the universe to give it to you, and you have to be able to, you have to have your high vibration high enough so that you don't reject it when it shows up or whatever. And I think Abraham's point is so much of the heavy lifting, so much of the hard work of creating things is done by the universe. Like,
it's not our job at all.
Yeah, it's like we're like, and it's a much bigger gap than this, but just to simplify it, it's like we do 1% and the universe does 99%.
Yeah, I love when you say that. That's so beautiful. You've texted me that before, and I'm just like, it's just a great reminder to hear that. Like, okay, let me take this action. And a lot of times in my human mind, just the way I've been conditioned, many of us have, is like, oh, I have to do more. I have to take more actions. I have to put more effort into it. And it's really just the opposite. It's like, let me take an action. Like I learned over the years, little tiny baby steps. I'm more the turtle than the hare. Yeah. And then trusting, believing, reminding myself that that is enough. It is good enough. And then allowing, like trusting higher power, the universe, law of attraction, art of allowing. It's going to come about. I don't know when and how, kind of like, talking about patience, but believing, learning to trust that is enough. It is enough. So great graphics, by the way, darling.
Thank you. Like I said, I'm a PowerPoint nerd.
Yeah.
I don't know anyone else who's just like.
Oh, so for those of you who are listening, Collin just put up okay.
No, I was just saying, I don't know anybody else who just like sits around, has their own thoughts about things, and then like does PowerPoints just about their own thoughts. Like, I don't think anybody does that. But I do that. So
take it to a whole nother level.
So for the listeners here, I've put up a graphic that for me breaks it out into 6 steps. The sort of manifestation process. And step 1, what I have written here is a new desire to be, do, or have something is sparked, like within us. Step 2 is the universe, source, higher power, however you think about that, receives and acknowledges your new desire. Step 3 is the universe creates the object of your new desire. Step 4 is the universe places the newly created thing you desire and puts it in your vortex for you. So it exists, but it exists vibrationally. Yeah. It's not in your manifested reality in clock time yet, but it's
not in physical
vibrational state. Yeah. Step 5 is, and this is where we put this, there's no star on this one, but there should be a star on it. Step 5, your personal vibration moves from the frequency of not having what you desire to the frequency of having what you desire. And then step 6 is what you desire flows out of your vortex and takes form in physical reality. And
it's always, I like to call the story. Like higher power, the universe is the great story writer, and I'm the storyteller.
Okay.
Just like we were talking about earlier about the Cracker Barrel and the Bass Pro Shop experience.
Mm-hmm.
Like higher power wrote all of that, and then I experienced it, and I tell the story of it.
Like you're the main character in the movie, yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So step 6 is kind of like the movie, where your desires are unfolding in physical reality in front of you. Yeah. But I think the reason why I like this, and again, all these things are just concepts, whatever helps you understand it. If the Secrets method works great for you, then that's fine.
More power to you.
Yeah,
yes.
Keep using it. Don't ever think about this again. Whatever works for somebody, keep using that.
Yeah.
But I think the reason this works better for me is it separates out, and I texted you about this, like even though I understand in my model here, steps 1 through 4, first of all, and you're the one that really has helped me really learn this here on this podcast, which is all 6 of these steps happen no matter what we do. The law of attraction is operating all the time. It's like the law of gravity. You don't have to like work with the law of gravity to make sure you don't fly off the face of the earth today.
Or turn it on and off.
Right.
It's not like a switch we turn on or off.
It's always working. So these 6 steps are always happening. The only difference is, are you consciously, actively engaged in step 5, which is your personal vibration moving from the frequency of not having what you desire to the frequency of having what you desire. That's the one step in this 6-part process where we can consciously, actively change the game, kind of. Like if we're not attracting if we're attracting a whole bunch of stuff that we don't like into our life, and we would like to do that less, and we would like to attract more of what we want into our life, we can participate in step 5, where our personal vibration moves from not having it to the vibration of having it. And we can do that through the things that we've talked about on this program, which The Secret also talks about, which Abraham talks about at great length, which is do things that make you feel happy and make you feel good. Think thoughts that make you feel happy and make you feel good. Dancing, if that's something that makes you feel good. Listening to your favorite song.
Gardening,
watching
hiking,
funny comedy movies. We've talked about that too. Like anything that just gets you feeling better, thinking better thoughts, so that the vibrations that are literally going out from your brain, that are coming off your body, are aligning with better stuff, for lack of a better term. But I think for me, it's helpful to break it out into 6 steps, even though I understand the first 4 happen without us even really having to do anything. And they also, my understanding that I agree with from Abraham is that all 4 of the first 4 steps happen instantaneously together. It's not like
automatically.
Day 1. What's that?
Automatically. We don't even realize half the time that they're happening, especially like the first step 1 is it kind of, when you read it again, I thought, oh, contrast. Because from contrast, something happening that we don't want to happen, from that, we know without realizing or not that, oh, a better improvement. I realized something that I want from this experience. Like I like when Abraham uses the terminology, when I'm rude to someone, in that moment I realize, oh, I want to be kinder. So that, shoots off into my vibration and into my vortex, and then in there is another experience where I am kinder to someone.
That's a great example, because I just want to call that out and slow it down, because that, for me, it's easier to understand that because you just talked about it, and you talked about all 4 steps, the first 4 steps happening. You talked about one thing. So you were rude to someone, and what you did was, right after that, is you mentally reflected on that, and you realized that was...
No, what I'm saying is it is automatic. I may not even consciously realize, like in the moment when I'm rude to someone, that it happens so quickly that in that moment, may not even realize it, but I, somewhere energetically, vibrationally in my cells, I'm just like, I want to be kinder. Like it just happens. So sometimes we're conscious of it, sometimes we're not. That's what I'm trying to say, is like a lot of times we don't even realize that this rocket from this contrasting experience happens, that I've put something even better, improvement into my vortex, into energetically.
Right. Okay. But again, because you're jumping from 1 to 4 in my framework.
Okay.
And so I just want to slow it down for people.
Okay.
So step 1 is you have the experience.
Yeah.
And the desire is created in you.
Right.
And like you say, a lot of times we're not even aware of it. It happens like in an instant. Like,
and sometimes we are, like you said, like reflecting back on it. I'm like, oh my God, I was so rude to that person. Oh my God.
And I think
I'm just going to try and do it better next time.
To focus on step 1 in my framework here, just for a moment, like that's Abraham's critique, I guess, of the step 1 in The Secret, which is you didn't have to do anything, really. You're just living your life. and you put something, and
And
you,
that's what we are doing, is living
right,
life.
right. So I think that's part of Abraham's point, is like, this is easier than you think,
Yeah.
you know?
Yep.
So step one is you just have the desire. So that you had that experience, it created the desire. That's step one. Step two is that the universe actually receives and acknowledges your desire. So that vibration you put out without even knowing it, without even really realizing it, like, man, I want to be a kinder person. The universe hears that, receives it, and is like, okay, right? So that's step two in this framework. Step three is the universe is like, here is future Stephanie, where she is kinder in that exact same kind of situation, right? So it's that the thing you want is already vibrationally in your vortex. But you keep saying, I put it in my vortex. Did you put it there, or did the universe put it there?
I put it there with my asking, and the universe responded to it. And my higher self, inner being, whatever you want to call it, my future self, says yes and is focused 100% on it. So that's why it's done, because law of attraction is also responding not only to my energy, simultaneously to my inner being, higher self, future self, and is respond. That's why it's created automatically, is because my higher self is also 100% focused on it, and so it exists. Not only.
That's
Go
I
ahead.
respect your belief on that. I
That's
think about
actually
it.
Abraham saying that, and that is why I just repeated it, because I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm just starting to write that. That's why
Well,
it's done.
I guess my question then, to play the devil's advocate, is if it's you doing it, then why can't you manifest something instantaneously?
I can. We have. How many times have we're like, oh my god, I was just saying that, and here it is.
No, but I mean, like, really, like,
No, that's
literally,
what I'm
like,
saying.
no, but I mean, I'm literally saying, like, if you wanted to create $10,000 in cash, put it in your hand right now, why can't you do that?
Because I believe I can't, or I don't think it's possible, or that's
So,
all of
so the
this.
universe doesn't have anything to do. It
It
sounds like you're
does.
saying the universe doesn't have anything to do with manifestation. Like, it's
I'm
all
not
us.
saying that. I'm
Okay.
I'm saying I'm saying there's two of us. There is me in this physical form,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's me, and then there's who I really am, which is my inner being, my higher self, my future self, whatever you want to term it. I just use inner being now. Um, so there's these two aspects of me,
Mm-hmm.
um, and and the universe is creating it because it's responding to my higher self,
Mm-hmm.
and so it's just, it's working together. Law of attraction is responding to me and my physical body, and is also responding to my higher self, because our higher self's
Yeah.
only focuses on what we want. 100% has no doubt in us be creating what we want. Never thinks of harmfully of anyone else. None of those human things. Our higher self is no. It's all 100% love, believes in us fully, and is focused on that 100%. And law of attraction is also responding to that point of attraction, to that perspective.
I guess for me, I think this is just sort of like different ways of talking about something that is like the grand mystery. And like for me, it's easier to understand it if I send my vibration out in the universe, because I feel like that is physically what's happening. Like I'm sending out a vibration.
Mm-hmm.
Like we've measured that, with
Mm-hmm.
scientifically or whatever. It's easier for me to understand it as that the universe picks up that signal,
Mm-hmm.
creates what I desire, which would be
Mm-hmm.
my step three here,
Mm-hmm.
and then the universe puts it in my vortex for
Mm-hmm.
me.
Mm-hmm.
That's easier for me to understand.
Mm-hmm.
If I keep saying, like, well, I'm putting it in my vortex, I understand what you mean.
Mm-hmm.
But again, going back to what I think is Abraham's critique of the secret three-step thing is like,
Mm-hmm.
that makes it sound like you've got some heavy lifting to do. Like you have to go out and,
Yeah. Yeah.
put this thing in your vortex, which I think Abraham's point is like, even if that's how you talk about it, it's not a difficult process at all. It's like you're just naturally doing it all the time.
Right.
But that's, for me, it's easier to feel, because when I think about the universe or source or higher power,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's like a big, you know, I don't know. I just visualize it as like a big energy system that's much
Yeah.
bigger than me.
And that's true. Yeah.
You know, yeah. I mean, I think everything we're saying is true. It's just like sort of how you, I guess, how you conceptually understand it as a human. But yeah. So either way, I guess I think we're
Yeah,
talking about the same
totally.
thing. But
Yep.
and then step
Absolutely.
4, I think I left off on step 3. Step 4 is, well, no, we talked about the first 4 steps. So step 5 is then your personal vibration moving from having it to not having it, from not having it to having it.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I like the example that you brought up about you being unkind to someone and immediately putting you being kind in your vortex, or the universe putting you being kind in the vortex, however you want to look at it, is because what I forget about is I always default to thinking, when I think about the law of attraction and art of allowing, about, you know, we talk about the car, the house, the boyfriend, girlfriend, the whatever, like you're trying to manifest. And I always think, oh, it's something I want. And what happens is, like, I will see, like, if I see a car that I want, I just immediately have like love for it, or whatever you want to call it. I have a high vibration because I'm like, yeah, that's an awesome car. Yeah. And then, you know, in this framework, it's like, okay, now I can do some step 5 stuff to help that car come more easily, more quickly into my life. Mm-hmm. But what you actually shared is also a way you can manifest things, which I think so often when people first hear about the law of attraction, they get worried because they're like, oh, well, that means all these negative things I think about, I'm going to manifest all these negative things. Okay. But there is some truth to that. But there's also the case of, like, when we see things we don't want, 2 desires are actually going out in a way. One is I would really like something different than that. Mm-hmm. And that's like sort of what our true heart would want. Right. Then we may also be sending the signal, if we put too much energy into it, we may also be sending the signal of, I also, you know, am attracting this thing my heart doesn't want, you know? Yeah. But I do love that, and I forget that about, like, because I think when people think like, oh, well, if I go out and I feel bad, then all I'm doing is creating negative stuff. Like, I'm just putting stuff I don't want in my vortex, and I'm just creating negative stuff for the future. But actually, every time you notice something that you don't like, you're actually also creating a vibration of, oh, but I would really like
the improvement,
something other than this, you know? Right. And that is also going in your vortex. And if you are practicing the art of allowing well, mm-hmm. which means you're influencing step 5 as much as you can, as your human part of the process, mm-hmm. you're going to get a lot more of the thing you did desire than what you didn't.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
And so this is oversimplifying it, but like, if you have that, let's take your example, you have this experience where you're unkind to someone. When you're unkind, you put some energy towards a future experience where you're also unkind again into your vortex. But you also have the desire.
Say that again.
If you really got mad at somebody, I guess I'm changing your example a little bit, but I'm embellishing a little bit for the example.
So when I'm rude, I was rude to someone, let's say I was being rude to someone. Okay.
While you were before it ended, while you were actually in the energy of being rude, mm-hmm. your vibration was Stephanie being rude, mm-hmm. and you put that however you think about it, the universe mm-hmm. received that signal mm-hmm. and said, oh, Stephanie likes being rude, and put that in your future, in your vortex. Now, that doesn't mean you have to manifest that experience.
Right? Yeah, I think the vortex is usually, Abraham likes to think of the vortex as all the things that you want, the good things. However, law of attraction is always responding to all of our energy. And so if I kept focusing, oh, I was rude, or, you know, or, oh, it's really, you know, then if I keep focusing that, and it's law of attraction is responding, and I'll have more experiences of that.
Yeah. It's almost like, I don't want to get too complicated here, but it's almost like if your experience as a human after that was over is that, 2% of you was rude, but 98% of you was kind of wishing you hadn't been.
Right. Yeah.
Then we can think of both of those going out vibrationally, but only 2% was the you don't want to be anymore.
Right.
98% was the you do want to be.
Yeah.
And so as long as you're practicing the art of allowing, it's the thing that was 98% that's going to flow out of your vortex into reality.
I love that you use that percentage wise. That's really, that's a great.
Because I think that's one thing I get tripped up on a lot too is and I forget every time Abraham talks about, no, contrast is necessary.
It is.
Like we have to have contrast. I'm like,
absolutely.
Oh, yeah. Because I feel like in our culture, it's like, not that we talk about law of attraction, but like we talk about negative experiences, like you shouldn't have them.
Right. No.
Like if you go to a party in LA and somebody says, oh, how was traffic today? And you have a horror story, it's like the framework of that story, which is humorous when you really pull it out, because we all know there's bad traffic in LA. It's like newsflash. Too many people live in Los Angeles and they all have cars. But the framework of that conversation is there shouldn't be traffic. You shouldn't have hit the traffic. The traffic should not have slowed you down. And that's what we're sort of talking about as humans. Is like, I need to tell you about this situation that shouldn't have occurred this way, and it affected me in a way I don't like, and I shouldn't have had to put up with it. And gosh darn it, somebody ought to do something, but I know nobody will. So gosh darn it, and what that is doing is putting this, if you keep talking about it and you keep reliving the anger that you felt while you were behind the wheel, that's making that the 98%. That's going into your vortex.
Yes. Well put.
So the other one is also getting created. Like you're also activating a desire to be in
better traffic.
Horrible traffic less often or whatever.
Right.
But because you're putting 98% behind the energy of what you don't want, and you're putting 2% behind what you do want, more than likely, if you just keep doing that, what you're going to manifest is a lot more bad traffic experiences in Los Angeles, which there's, as we all know that live here, there's an infinite abundance available if you choose to have it.
And so we're always attracting whatever we're focused on the most.
Right. Yeah. But what I love about Abraham's thing about contrast is, like, for somebody, I'm just pulling an example here, like and this goes to another point, which is to do with the time that the card talked about at the end, like allow time for ideas to transform into reality. And this is one thing I do love about The Secret. The Secret talks about this, about like the guy, they have this example of like, okay, well, what if you really did just like, what if there was no time delay at all, typically, and everybody just, no matter what they believed in law of attraction or practiced the art of allowing, everything everybody wanted just showed up immediately. And they give you this example of a guy thinking about an elephant. And then just an elephant appears in his living room and it destroys the living room. And it's like, there's no one to take care of it. And it's like, well, that was unfortunate,
Right, yeah.
But I do think that that's one of the reasons why the time delay is we can look at the time delay as helpful, because
we don't want it to always
happen. If I went to a party and I talked and I told my horrible LA traffic story and people liked it so much, they were like, oh, go get Collin to tell you the thing that happened to him. And I tell it like 16 times over the night and I'm angry all night and I come home. But then I realize, oh crap, I know what I just did. Like I just spent 3 hours in the vibration. You would have
left the place and been in a ton of traffic on the way home.
Which, by the way, happens in LA. I've been in a traffic jam in the morning.
I have experienced that too.
So I mean, it's there if you, But absolutely, I probably would have hit one on the way home. But if I get home after that traffic jam that I created, or the universe, we co-created it, I guess.
Yeah,
the universe and I co-created it. If I get home and I do know about the law of attraction, I do understand the art of allowing, maybe I'm lucky enough to have you as my life coach and you check in with me about things like this and I correct my mistake and I go, geez Louise,
Right.
I mean, of course I don't want more of that.
And that's all I talked about all
So,
night long. Yeah.
right. So probably first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change the subject, which is a tool I love that Abraham talks about, which is my thoughts and energy about traffic in LA are so jacked. Like, don't take talking about a bad experience for 3 hours and then try to immediately talk about like the traffic in Los Angeles doesn't bother me at all. Like, don't try to do that. That won't work. Your brain won't believe it. Like, your vibration won't change. Like, don't do that. But what I can do is change the subject. I can watch one of my favorite comedy movies. I can put on a song that makes me want to dance and have fun in the kitchen. I could, you know what I mean? And so that's one thing. And then I can go general, which is another thing that I love that Abraham talks about a lot, which is...
I really had a hard time with that one years ago. General.
Yeah, when I first heard about it, I didn't get it. Yeah. But basically, maybe we should spend a whole episode on that. But basically going general is like, instead of trying to, after what I just explained, visualize a great LA driving experience where there's no traffic and everybody's nice to me and there's nobody cutting me off, and like, rather than having to do it that specifically, because that would be really hard to do if I really
specific.
If I had a horrible experience, then I talked about it for 3 hours, then I had another bad one on the way home. It's going to be really hard to like visualize like a really great traffic experience. But what I can do is say something like, what general positive could I find about Los Angeles? Not traffic, just Los Angeles. What do I love about Los Angeles? The sunsets at the beaches are breathtakingly beautiful. Breathtakingly beautiful.
Or it could even be like, oh, you know what? Even though I'm always in traffic, I always get home safely.
Yeah, there's a bunch of different... Yeah, absolutely.
I always eventually make it to where I want to go.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, the roads in Los Angeles take me everywhere I need to go, and I have a car that takes me. I like how
they're kind of paved. They're paved well. It's a smooth ride.
Yeah. Yeah. So again, you're getting out of the specifics and you're going to a higher, more broad, general level. But what you're doing with your vibration is you're coaxing it or easing it slowly towards a positive vibration about that subject.
Softening that resistant,
Yeah.
Cool. Again, we went somewhere I didn't know we were going to go.
All from the Swan Queen. I don't know why... I feel like the symbolism on this is that, I mean, what I've heard, I don't know if it's actually true, I'm not a zoologist, but there's the whole thing, the one thing I always hear about swans is that they mate for life. So I think like one of the reasons why she's the Swan Queen, perhaps, is this whole thing about time, is that like, you know, is allowing things to take their time. And because the fact that we have time allows us to participate in what I'm calling step 5, what The Secret calls step 1, and what Abraham calls step 3. However you want to think about it, step 1, 5, or 3, whichever one you're with. But it's like we have time as humans to change our vibration. If it's super negative, we can start moving slowly up the scale of emotions. We can think better thoughts. We can do stuff that makes us feel better. And in that way, we're going to manifest more of what we want and less of what we don't want.
And we can also, in time, begin to practice the vibration of what we want. Begin practicing like, oh, it's coming.
Yeah.
Or practicing like, it's already here, you know, just softening the resistance and going more into the believing of it. Yeah.
Cool. Well, great discussion. I'm glad I got to use my PowerPoint. I didn't know if I would. That all worked out great.
Thanks for pulling a card. I really like that.
Yeah, no, I think that there's all the oracle card decks and a lot of the tarot decks that have their own sort of the tarot kind of has a generally accepted meaning for each card, but a lot of decks have booklets that sort of put their own spin on the meaning of each card. But I do feel like when I do readings for myself, for other people, which I do a lot these days, it's like, oh, there's like this principle of wisdom that this card is talking about, and it's bigger than just like, I want to talk about it more than just this reading that I'm doing for myself or whatever. Like, there's a
She's so
principle
tapped
here.
in. She's
Yeah.
so tapped in. I really liked, I wanted to say this earlier, when you read the part in there of the description of it, of the swan seeing the reflection in the water in the pond.
Yeah.
That was awesome. That's a great visual.
Trying to find that specific. Oh, don't look outside yourself for answers. That your true power lies reflected in the still waters within you. Now is the moment to meditate and ask for a vision. The power of psychic perception is inherent in you, and the Swan Queen will help you dive deep into your query to find the answers you seek. But there was something about a mirror, wasn't there? I thought there was.
Maybe I just picked that up. It's so, I feel like we could do another one just about coming to believe in our inner wisdom, in our inner knowingness, instead of looking outside of ourselves for that.
Let's do it.
Reinforcement and belief. It's like coming to know it from
next
within.
episode. Believing in your inner intuition and wisdom. Next episode. Next time on Co-Creation Station. Dun, dun, dun. All right. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Thank you so much for liking, following, subscribing, and reviewing us. We really appreciate it. Subscribing to the YouTube channel, the podcast. Thank you so much. If people want to find you, Stephanie, where can they do so?
On the web, powerinjoy, powerinjoy.com, and on social media, Instagram, at the same address.
And you can always find me on what the kids these days call the gram. I don't know if any actual children refer to it that way, but Instagram at Collin_Daniels_Worster. Collin has 2 L's and Worster is WORSTER. Thanks so much again for listening and watching, everybody. We wish you a very happy, successful, and abundant week, and we will see you next time on Co-Creation Station. Bye, everybody.
Bye, y'all.